Hare Krishna. I'd like to welcome all of you today to our first live broadcast from TKG Academy. And I am the Vice Principal of TKG Academy, which is the first elementary school that was established by the founder Acharya of His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Today I'm very honored to have His Grace Nityananda Prabhu with us. He has been the chairman of the board of TKG Academy for many, many years, 2 or 3 decades at least, and he can tell us a bit about his experience in that position. He's also been our temple president here at the Dallas community for 18 years, and he serves as the GBC representative for the entire southwest of North America. So Nityananda Prabhu has been so kind to come once a week to our students in the upper elementary class and give them leadership training, something that is very rare for children to start becoming used to becoming leaders and understanding what is leadership and what are my responsibilities as a leader. He also provides leadership training out in the greater DFW area, and we wanted to kind of get an insight into what does he teach to our students and what are the qualities of a child becoming a leader. So my first question to you today, Nityananda Prabhu, was, according to your understanding, what were Srila Prabhupada's instructions to all of us educators and parents as to how we can raise the next generation of leaders?
Thank you very much. Well, first of all, I want to say that I'm really honored to be here, to be speaking about this topic. This topic is very close to my heart. Srila Prabhupada wanted us to create the next generation of leaders for those of us who are the first generation and quasi-second generation, quasi-first generation, meaning in the second generation, but we look like we're in the first generation. To create leaders. And this word create actually is a very good acronym also for what Srila Prabhupada wanted us to do. He wanted us to care for, to raise, to educate and train our children. So the process is that the leaders are persons who actually help others. What they do is that they speed up the process of success. And so how they do this is that they actually understand that for success in life, there are 3 things that are necessary in terms of the process of leadership. Those 3 things are that we build relationships. And then we have a process of working in that relationship so that the goals of each person are achieved nicely, and that these goals are natural goals, meaning that they are worldly goals that are natural to that person, and spiritual goals which are natural to that person.
So what I'm hearing, and to do a quick recap, if you all heard, he took the letters of create and changed those into caring,
rearing, you might say, or raising,
caring, raising,
yeah.
Educating, and teaching.
Training.
Yeah,
training.
Caring, raising, educating, and training.
Yes.
And it's really helpful to remember these points, because when you think of leadership, we have such a large variety of words that can pop in your mind. But if you think of each of these words, and the first one is so interesting, it's caring. And I felt it's also very interesting that your first point you said was how to create a network of relationships.
Yes.
That leading actually doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to have a list of objectives and finish those, but it's how am I going to connect? How am I going to care for people? How will I connect with people?
Absolutely. And so what happens is then these young leaders, when they become the next generation leaders, they will be guides and mentors and exemplars themselves. So that's another acronym, game. So they'll play a game. In the game, You'll notice in a lot of things that I do, I bring them down to acronyms.
Now I know why the kids love. I know why the kids love his class. He's got acronyms and game. What an acronym! Excellent.
Yeah, it's a game. It's a game that they're playing, and the game is that they're guides and mentors who exemplify.
Okay.
So they're exemplary themselves because those who are following the leaders, what they want to see is an example that they can follow. And Srila Prabhupada says that there are only 81 different natures in the material world. So basically what they're looking for are persons who are within their nature, who they can follow. This is why you notice that some people love sports, and as a result of loving sports, they know so much about those who are sports heroes, right?
Right.
I have my sons, sometimes they talk about the football heroes in the National Football League, and I think, how can you remember their names like that? How can you remember who they are and what team they played for, and now what team they're playing for, and what their stats are, how many yards they've run, this, that, and the other? It's because their nature is in that area, their worldly nature is in that area. That's what they love to do. For others who are not into sports, they might be into entertainment. For them, entertainment heroes are the greatest. So they won't so much remember sports heroes, but they'll remember entertainment heroes like that. So we exemplify, and in the exemplification process, the leader is actually, in a sense, improving his or her own nature whilst they're leading. So basically, Srila Prabhupada gives the example that the best doctor is one who trains other doctors. Well, obviously, when he's training other doctors, he is a doctor himself or herself, and so that person is going to become the best doctor while training other doctors.
So very interesting. This goes right into what you were saying about creating a network of relationships. Once you have a network of relationships, then you realize that these are people that you have to be a proper example to.
Yes.
And so this, again, the acronym is GAME, and that is?
And that stands for guides
and mentors.
Exemplifying.
So exemplifying yourself. And so when we tell children to be an example, immediately it raises their bar for themselves.
Yes.
Suddenly now they think, oh, others are looking up to me. I guess I should act in a specific way. I should act in a more appropriate way.
Right. In a sense, we're training people to become heroes and heroines like that. That's what we're doing. They're going to be heroes of the world and heroines of this world.
And every kid loves Superman or Batman.
Absolutely.
Every kid wants to be that hero for the rest of the population.
Everybody in this world talks about their heroes. They look up to their heroes, even if they're older people. They have someone who they more or less like hero worship.
Oh, yes.
And so the leader is the person who is going to train others to become a hero or heroine. And so personally, that person, the leader himself or herself, should be such a person like that. And so this training is very important. This is where education and training is very, very important.
So what Nityananda Prabhu is saying, that when you want to give your child a leadership training or education, you want to tell them that they are a hero. They are already a hero, and all you need to do is have them see how they are a hero and how they can set a good example for others who can see them also as that hero, that's already innate in them.
Absolutely.
And you had said some may be sports. We have sports heroes or mentors, or we're fans of sports or fans of entertainment. Whatever area our youth or your children are strong in, that they feel that confidence that I can be an example to someone else, I can lead someone else.
Yes, and those are worldly examples. Then there are spiritual examples as well. And so spiritually there is more breadth in a person. Srila Prabhupada gives the example that if a son has been born to your house, you should know that Krishna has come, or Balaram has come. If daughter is born, you should know Radharani has come, or Tulsi Maharani has come, like that. And so these persons are great persons. I mean, who's greater than Krishna? Who's greater than Radharani? Nobody. So each child is the greatest. And once we see the children in that light, now it's a question of bringing out what's in them already.
Yes.
Radharani is not trained as Radharani. She is Radharani.
Yes.
You don't train her to become Radharani. She is Radharani. So each person is a very great person that Krishna has manifested. Krishna manifested each person to be the greatest, to be actually like him, a very great person. And so once we see our children like that, then the whole attitude changes in terms of how we deal with our children and what we do so that they will manifest what, as you said, is innate to their nature, to their material nature and to their spiritual nature. And the material nature is there because they're in the material world, they've been conditioned, and so there is some conditioning. But the idea is that the spiritual nature is the eternal nature, and the eternal nature carries with it all types of worldly natures in it. But initially you've got to get into the worldly nature because that's what connects them immediately to the leader or to the teacher. Otherwise they get bored or they get disconnected, and so as a result of the disconnection or lack of camaraderie, there is no education that will happen, there is no training that will happen.
So it's very interesting that he's saying that it's really incumbent upon us as teachers and as educators and as parents that we know that our children already have this leadership inherent in themselves, that Krishna has already identified what area, what sphere of life, whether it be poetry, drawing, writing, math, science, that our children each already have this inherent quality of leadership, something that they are strong in, that they can be blossomed into knowing and establishing about themselves. And we have a few people who have joined us today. Hare Krishna, Mita Mataji, Mita Auntie, and Hare Krishna Mother Hari Priya, all the way from Alachua. So nice to have you with us. And Manju Devi, she has a beautiful son who danced at Kirtan 50 for Bibi Govinda Maharaj. That was what he was showing, and everybody asked him in front of the whole gathering of Vaishnavas. He had such a beautiful dance to show. So
thank you for coming. I also wanted to say that just as you said that it's what is innate in them, the reason Krishna gave them that nature is because he knows that that is what will please that living entity the most. Krishna wants each of his living entities to be in total ecstasy, that's all. And so what is it that we can do to further that process so that that living entity can feel total ecstasy? That is actually the mindset with which we're working with them. And we're trying to uncover or to manifest that which is unmanifest.
Yes, so that brings it to even another level. Not only do they get that confidence that I'm doing what I love doing, what I know how to do, I can teach others, but this brings me happiness. And isn't that the goal for every living entity, everybody in the world, that we want to be happy? Yes. So if that's okay, I can move on to our, our next question, which was, what have been your experiences, your personal experiences in seeing this leadership manifest in your students? Or Nityananda Prabhu is also a father and a grandfather, and he's successfully raised 2 leaders of our community here in Dallas, Chaitya Guru Prabhu and Kapil Prabhu, and 3 now grandchildren. And so what has been your experience either personally in your family or in your, in your teachings throughout the world, and how you have, instilled leadership or seen someone blossom into a leadership position?
Essentially what I see is that naturally there are 2 things in life. One is that there are opportunities and then there are challenges. So the truth is that this world is an ocean of challenges. And so if we can see these challenges as opportunities in disguise, then what we see is that when there are opportunities that appear, like when students or children, they do the things we want them to do and they're doing great and we're happy, they're happy. At other times they're not so much listening to you, they're not really wanting to do what you're telling them to do or what you feel is the right thing to do. Yes, that becomes a challenge.
I think many parents, many of us can relate to that.
Right.
Where we have these, leadership, I can't get my kid to finish their homework. And you're talking about leadership, but my child is throwing tantrums every time we try and go out the door and get in the car.
Right.
And so definitely there are a lot of challenges in educating our children and parenting our children. Absolutely.
Right. So now when we see these challenges as opportunities in disguise, not as challenges, but actually an opportunity for the teacher or the leader to actually raise his or her own standards. Before we raise the standard of the child, I think we have to be sure that we deserve before we desire. There is a saying that please deserve before you desire.
Yeah.
So, And so the idea is that what that does is that it allows us to grow as well. These challenges allow us to grow. And in the growth process, we notice that as we grow, these challenges actually become opportunities. They turn into opportunities, and they actually turn from something that might have been a disappointment or giving us some type of misery to instead becoming something that is actually giving pleasure and happiness. And so this is an amazing transformation that I've been noticing in the students that I've been working with, the children at the TKG Academy. I can say every last one of them that I've met has been honor for me. I see all of them as much greater leaders than I am. It's just a matter of manifestation. And anything I can do in the service is my pleasure, it's my honor. It's actually, I am growing in the process. I teach adults, I teach children, and when I'm teaching students at TKG Academy, I notice they give answers that are better than the answers I get with adults. That amazes me. It always amazes me how these children who are so young, some of them are only 8-year-olds and 9-year-olds and 10-year-olds, and yet they're actually giving answers that are more mature and more advanced than adults who are in their 40s and 50s.
Yes, what he's saying here is that now we have this responsibility, for those of you who have just joined us, to create a next generation of leaders. And the points that he made previously, the next one is that not only can we take this as our responsibility, but that means that now we have to come up to a higher level.
Yes.
And we have to put on that expectations on ourselves, higher expectations for ourselves.
Right.
Because we just are expecting our children to be the example, but now it pushes us to be a better example. And I've definitely found that in my own life. In even being a teacher, I give an instruction to the students, immediately I have to think, wait, when they're not looking, am I following this instruction that I'm giving them? And that's the first thing parents will tell you, that kids will immediately notice if you're being hypocritical.
Yes.
If you say you have to act in a certain way, I would like you to be the example, I would like you to, then they're also noticing, are my parents, are my teachers, or those authorities around me, are they also setting a good example? So this is a very important point that you're making.
Yes. And so this is actually a process. Basically, it's a process. And in this process, there are 5 things that we actually do with these children so that they will become well trained. And again, what I did was, for these 5, to make it easy to understand, I call them A, B, C, D, E.
All right.
So that these are the A, B, C, D, E's of bringing up children.
Okay, the A, B, C, D, E's of leadership training. So this, we have here with us Nityananda Prabhu, who actually does seminars and workshops and conferences with very high-level executives, and he is here teaching our children the A, B, C, D, E of leadership training.
That's right.
Jewels of information. So
Yes.
let's all, I'm really excited to hear what you're going to say.
The first is, the A stands for association.
Association,
We've got to
okay.
keep the children in the right association and ourselves be in the right
Can you
association.
get a board, Richard? We can write these down.
So being in the right association ourselves, we know, like say for example, we have these sadhu sangha programs, right?
Yes.
And they're so uplifting. When you hear these very senior devotees, these maharajas, these gurus speaking, I'm surprised not many people make notes when they're speaking, but it's such an important thing to listen to them and write things down so that we can actually understand.
Yes.
Like that. So association is very important. Similarly for the children, everything depends on the association they're in.
Yes.
If they're in good association, if they're in powerful association, they're going to become good and powerful. It's just the nature of association. It'll rub off on the person, right?
Yes.
And this world is made of associations. If you want to be a good doctor, you join some type of medical association. If you want to be a good attorney, you join some type of attorney association. And you get trained up with continuing education, this, that, and the other, so that you can be the best attorney on the planet. Like
So
that.
A is association. As moms and dads, we all know when we see our kid coming home with bad quality, the first question I'll ask is, who have you been playing with? Who did you pick that up from?
Yes.
This association that you do naturally as a parent, this is your first step in leadership training and training your child to be a leader.
That's right. Then the B stands for books. So here, basically, the purpose is that we should always have our children refer to Shastra, refer to Scripture, because Scripture is actually the Lord Himself speaking. Dharmantu Sakshat Bhagavat Pranitanti is saying, there's a saying that dharma means that which is spoken by the Lord himself.
All right.
So when we're reading Srila Prabhupada's books, particularly when we read Srila Prabhupada's books, which are scripture,
Yes.
these children become really, really very powerful. So one example is when the children are very, very young, we start teaching them reading, right? At some
Yes.
point, start teaching them reading. Have them read Srila Prabhupada's books at that stage.
Yes.
Just start them off with reading Srila Prabhupada's books. I know a number of parents who did that with their children. That the first books they had them read were Srila Prabhupada's books. And as a result of that, these children have turned out to be really icons of very intelligent children.
Yes.
Extremely intelligent children, well-behaved, well-adjusted. In every way, they will turn out to be the best of children, what to speak of, the best of leaders.
Yes, now this is something that's so overlooked. It's something that we don't really see the value of that Srila Prabhupada. I'm even speaking for myself, and I'm hearing it again, that we need to read Srila Prabhupada's books. Luckily here at TKG Academy, the students' curriculum has Srila Prabhupada's books and books from Srila Prabhupada's disciples ingrained and into the curriculum, tied into the curriculum. But for those who may not have that luxury of having a school where their child can study Srila Prabhupada's books at home, when I was a little girl, Mother Urmila would just have the 4- and 5-year-olds in the Bhagavatam class just open up the pictures. You start with just the pictures of Srila Prabhupada's books and you talk about the pictures. And then as they get older, of course now if you go on Krishna.com or any bookstore, nearby bookstore at your local temple, you'll see so many children's books are written that are taken out of Srila Prabhupada's books. And just sitting with your child and reading to them from Srila Prabhupada's books, or having them read Srila Prabhupada's books to you, make it a family event, twice a week, 3 times a week, even just lying in bed, getting comfy with pillows and opening the Krishna book. My husband's mother Birmala, did the same thing. Every night it was Krishna book time. They climbed all in the bed and they read together. So this is the second point for leadership, training our children to be leaders, and it's a very important point, and it'll actually make us be the example, because many of us don't find time in our lives to read Srila Prabhupada's books, but now you have to read Srila Prabhupada's books because your children need to be reading Srila Prabhupada's books.
Exactly.
That'll get you to read Srila Prabhupada's books. So that's B. A is association, B is read Srila Prabhupada's books.
Yeah. And in the books, there is a very important point also that I wanted to make, because I think it's very important to remember this.
Yes.
And that is that knowledge is of 2 types. There is prama and aprama. Prama means knowledge that is valid, and aprama means knowledge that is invalid, meaning that valid knowledge is knowledge that is true at all times, under all circumstances, for all persons, and in all places. Whereas aprama is only sometimes true for some people in some places and under some circumstances like that. So the idea is that when we read from Srila Prabhupada's books, you are picking up prama, you're picking up knowledge that is actually valid, that can be guaranteed to give good results. And so this is one thing that I've noticed in our movement. A lot of times we take knowledge from outside of Srila Prabhupada's books and then Krishnaize it, so to speak. And this Krishnaizing really doesn't help if that knowledge is in the first case, aprama. Because if it is aprama, it's not going to give good results unless it aligns with prama. If it aligns, then it works. And that's why expert devotees can read books of aprama and then align it with prama. That will work. But otherwise, if we just take examples from outside and try to Krishnaize it, unfortunately, it doesn't work as well. It creates confusion.
Yes, so we have a recommended list of books that children will, recommended sections of the Srimad Bhagavatam, the translations, that the children, sometimes they're not so much into all the heavy philosophy. If you're interested in that, please comment below that you would like the selected verses of the Chaitanya Charitamrita, the Srimad Bhagavatam, and Krishna book is always a great hit. It really establishes their relationship with Krishna, and like he's saying again, there are so many other books that we can read for success, for, they have their literature they have to read in school, Harry Potter, every kid loves Harry Potter. Take that time, even if it's just 10 minutes a day, 15 minutes a day, to open up Srila Prabhupada's books and read it. And I feel like what you're saying is really interesting. He said that the aprama is for books, prama and aprama is the absolute truth.
Yes.
The absolute truth means that your child will get information to deal with circumstances in life, regardless of what the circumstances. The information doesn't change. The retaining of that information, the sharing of that information, it won't change how they act in different circumstances. And we want our kids to be completely confident wherever they go.
Yes.
Whether they walk into a job interview for the CEO of a company, or whether they walk into an environment where they have to socialize with friends, we really want them to have that confidence in themselves that they can do this. And aprama means it won't change regardless of the circumstance. So reading Srila Prabhupada's books will give them that natural confidence that they can walk into any environment, they can handle any obstacle, any disease, any illness, any bad grades. They can handle that with that confidence. And so it's very important.
Yes. And so then C stands for chanting. Now chanting is actually...
Chanting
is a part... Japa.
Chant and be happy.
Yeah, japa is a part of kirtan actually.
Okay.
Kirtan comes from the word kirtan iti kirtiyate. Kirtiyate iti kirtana. Meaning that kirtan means to glorify. Children should be trained to glorify the Lord, glorify devotees. If the children are always glorifying the Lord and the devotees, what happens is the qualities of the Lord and the qualities of the devotees will automatically come into those children.
Oh,
so
wow.
whoever you glorify, their qualities will come into you. And whoever you criticize, their bad qualities will come into you. So this is why we should always stay away from offenses.
Whoever you glorify,
yes,
those qualities you will get. Whoever you glorify and whoever you criticize. This is, I feel like I wish I was in his leadership class every week because I would have remembered this. And whoever you criticize, those qualities now you may be thinking you're going to criticize them because you're trying to better them, but you will now get those qualities.
That's
so
right.
Chanting is glorifying the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Exactly. It's a glorification process. It's part of glorification. So glorifying the Lord all the time and glorifying devotees all the time should be ingrained into children. Let them learn how to do that. Let them identify with some particular deity or deities that they love. Some people love Krishna, some people love Radharani, some people love Balaram, some people love Subhadra, some people love Tulsi, some people love Hanuman. There's so many nice persons that we in our system, we have millions and millions of persons who actually are in the Krishna conscious arena. So any one of those persons or more than one person's glorification is very, very, very valuable. So when we're telling stories to our children identify with people. They think, I want to be like Prahlad, I want to be like Hanuman, I want to be like Arjuna, I want to be like Balaram, I want to be like Krishna, I want to be like Radharani, whoever it is that they're hearing stories about. They identify with those persons, they become their heroes. And so we teach them, now glorify them, sing about them, chant about them. The whole chanting process is a glorification process. So, we're saying, oh, energy of the Lord, oh, all attractive Lord, oh, reservoir of all pleasure, please engage me in your service. So we're glorifying them. One only wants to be in the service of a person who's greater than one. So if I'm glorifying someone, obviously I'd like to be in the service of that greater person.
Yes, so here chanting is turned not into taking the japa beads and asking your child to sit and chant japa, not just standing in kirtan. Yes, those are important, those are the basis, but Nityananda Prabhu is saying that chanting means that you teach your child how to glorify great personalities.
Yes.
And if they glorify the great personalities, that means read books about their heroes, right? Leadership training means we want our kids to be heroes, we're going to find heroes for them to glorify.
Right.
And so those heroes are Prahlad Maharaj, Dhruva Maharaj, Srila Prabhupada, the six Goswamis, so many, there's such a large list of heroes that your children can be taught to glorify just by you glorifying. Reading the story goes right in, connected right into the books.
Right.
Reading the stories and talking about those personalities, what qualities do those personalities possess. And what's interesting is also that he had mentioned, for those who may not have been here, who have just joined us, I noticed Ketan Prabhu, Hare Krishna, you've joined us
Hare
from
Krishna.
Detroit, and Gopal from New Orleans, very nice to have you with us. Chanting means glorifying, which means that they will now get those qualities in them. We all want our little Prahlads, right? We want our boys and our girls to be Radharanis and Sitas and Sati Devis. So that's the C, was
Right.
chanting.
Right. And in this glorification process, it's also very important to glorify your peers. So the idea is amongst friends also, say nice things about your friends. Tell stories about your friends, that something nice that happened, as a result of which that relationship is going to become very powerful. Those relationships are going to become very powerful. They'll be eternal relationships. Essentially, we should understand that we all come from the forest of Vrindavan, and that all of our friends are from the same forest. In fact, they're from the same part of the same forest that we're in. There are 12 forests there, as we know. 5 of them are looked after by Radha and Krishna, and 7 of them are looked after by Balaram and his consorts. You know, which part of which forest did we come from? And so we have friends from those parts of the forest who have also come to the material world after we decided to come here. And so now we're getting back together again. This is a process of reuniting the family. So we're getting back together again. So in glorification of each other, what happens is that our relationship becomes cemented in the eternal sense. And so then when we go back to the spiritual world, we'll realize that these were the things that actually helped us. What didn't help us took us away from the spiritual world, took us away from Golok Vrindavan. What helped us brought us closer to Golok Vrindavan. And it's really all about Golok Vrindavan. Radharani says that she doesn't even want to have a relationship with Krishna if it is not Vrindavan, if it is not in Vrindavan. So this is how a very important Vrindavan
So
is.
this whole leadership, training our children to be leadership has been tied to original roots of our identity in Vrindavan Dham. And that's why the first thing he started with was creating a network of relationships and learning how to find heroes. It's all about connecting with others. And why? Because we are all eternally together in our eternal home of Sri Vrindavan Dham. How important to connect our children to something that is beyond this body, something that, and what did he say? Glorify your peers. I need to remember this because when kids come home from a long day of school, they've had a tough day or they're crying, they're upset, I'll sit them down at the dining table. Okay, how was your day? The first thing, you know, we all know as moms, what went wrong. This kid did that, oh, and that happened, and that negative thing happened, and that. Let me now tomorrow turn that around and say, let me hear some glorification.
Yeah, which kid did the right thing?
Tell me what you liked.
Really
who
great?
Was really respectful?
Yes.
Who really showed a
who
loving,
did something that made you
kind
happy?
act? Let's turn it around from all of the problems dumped on mommy to let's turn it around to glorifying not only the spiritual heroes but also glorifying our peers. These are just. Thank you very much. I know this would be very helpful to all, so many of us, so many parents.
And actually, you know, life is meant to be an adventure. It's meant to be an adventure. It's supposed to be something that's elating and satisfying. Prabhupada used these words, that everything should be elating and satisfying. This is why he said, if you're not happy, it means you're not devotee. You're not happy because you have forgotten Krishna. You have momentarily forgotten Krishna. And so the idea is that if you always remember Krishna and you're always doing everything to please Krishna and having a thrilling experience, an adventure, because life is meant to be an adventure. If it's not an adventure, then you're not living a human life. Human lives are meant to be adventurous. Even some animals have adventurous lives, what to speak of humans. So we should definitely have, and so this, in this sense also, it's important that in the glorification process, we should know that did I do something extra special for some friend of mine, for the children? Did I do something extra special today? So that they can remember when they go back home, they can remember it and say, that person did this, mom, this happened, that happened, you know, like that. Yes. Did you do something that was adventurous?
Yes,
do something that's adventurous.
I can definitely attest that as a mother, as a teacher, parenting is a massive adventure.
Massive adventure.
And so the adventure is so interesting. Just all of these different points. We have A, association. We have B, books. Let's read Srila Prabhupada's books. Let's take that time to read Srila Prabhupada's books with our kids and talk about their heroes. Now we've got C, which is chanting. And chanting means glorification. And let's glorify our peers. First you were saying glorify our heroes, glorify our peers, and in that they will become naturally confident in themselves and attain those qualities.
Absolutely.
And you said then they'll go and they'll feel like, oh, they also have good qualities.
Yes.
They'll get a larger self-image, they'll feel more confident of themselves.
And they'll recognize that every person who is their friend is a great person. They're in the association of the greatest persons. And so when they start treating each other like that with so much love and affection, then obviously the whole atmosphere rises up to another level of performance.
So it's like a leader. You know, children, they tend to think a leader means I'm going to stand up and give instructions and all of you have to follow me. So all of these different traits teach our children that a leader actually means to bring people closer, to have that I can respect those that are around me, and by respecting those that are around me, he just said that I will see everyone as a leader, that I develop that consciousness that now I'm glorifying my peers, and I see how much respect my peers have for each other and how much respect I have for them. That means that I have now become humble.
Yes.
I am the humblest.
Yes.
And so
actually, we have a very wonderful Maharaj who comes to Dallas, as you know, Keshav Bhakti Goswami Maharaj.
Yes.
And he often says that you are where you are. And so where are you? If you're in the midst of the best, then you're the best. If you're not in the midst of the best, then how can you be the best yourself?
Yes.
So, there's a saying in the business world, if you pay your employees peanuts, and then they'll be monkeys, right? And you'll be the chief monkey. And so
peanuts and monkeys.
So the idea is,
we definitely have
what's your environment? Be in the best environment. And Krishna says in chapter 3 of the Bhagavad Gita, which is the As It Is chapter of the As It Is Bhagavad Gita, where Krishna says that find me from where you are. So where are you? Get yourself situated in the right place, and then everything else starts turning right. If you're in Vrindavan, everything's going to be perfect. And Prabhupada does say the meaning of life is that one should always live with Krishna on that spiritual planet, Golok Vrindavan, and that one is simply waiting to give up this material body. So be in Vrindavan now, and understand that your friends are the eternal associates of Krishna. Krishna loves them more than anybody else. And so, will you love them more than anybody else too? Will you deal with them like that? That is a big issue.
So this is something that we need to take this responsibility seriously as moms and dads and teachers. And now we're portraying this exact same responsibility to our monkeys.
Exactly.
I have 2 monkeys. I know many times just to get our children to brush their teeth and take care of their clothes and get out the door in time and do their responsibilities and be peaceful, it's like you feel like you're dealing with monkeys. But what he's saying is that if you pretend, or if you have this idea that your children are at the lowest level, instead let's create this impression in their hearts that they are at the highest level, that they are eternal servants of Krishna and to be heroes to the world. Absolutely. That each of them have that innate hero quality inside, and the whole purpose of it is to get themselves and their peers back beyond this life cycle of birth and death and to the spiritual world. I'm so excited. This is very exciting.
Absolutely. Like Krishna, right? Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Yes.
And nobody loves him more than Mother Yashoda.
Yes, so now we have...
And so you see that Mother Yashoda, when she's trying to give Krishna a bath in the morning, he won't take a bath. He's so naughty. He won't listen to her. He won't take her bath. He doesn't want to take off the gunja beads around him. And so she'll say, okay, I'm just going to take it off for one moment. And I'm going to put it right back on you. So please allow me to do that so I can give you a bath. So it takes a lot for her to give Krishna a simple bath. Just like that. So you can imagine, Mother Yashoda is facing a lot of challenges with Krishna too.
So we have a few parents here with us, those of you who struggle with getting your kids to get out the door and take a bath in time. Can you please just write bath in the comments so we know that this is touching your heart and you're really getting something out of what Nityananda Prabhu is saying. So we have A, B, C, D, association, books, C, and chanting, and D?
D stands for diet.
Diet. Oh, that's a rough one.
We all know how much people love food.
Diet.
We are actually the kitchen religion. We are foodies. Every one of us is a foodie. And so there are different types of foods that we love. And so we should use
Hare Krishna,
food.
Meeta Mataji, thank you.
Thank you for coming, yes. We should use food as a major tool in bringing up our children. Because eating the right type of food and eating food that is palatable, eating food that is exciting, so that's an adventure in itself. Prabhupada used food in such a powerful way to create an adventure, and now we have a big movement as a result. This movement is going to run on food and kirtan. These are the 2 big things. Prabhupada said these are the 2 bullets. Prasadam and Kirtan, these are the 2 ISKCON bullets.
Okay, so D is for diet, and I noticed Avirhotra Prabhu right here from Dallas, who's been taking care of his children. He has said bath. He has a hard time getting the kids out the door, same with Ketan Prabhu. So D is food. It's so interesting, Nityananda Prabhu, that these are all things that we parents and educators do regularly.
Yes.
But to know that what we're doing every single day, if just tweaked in a little bit, if just put a different consciousness on it, it can become leadership training. It's leadership training.
Yes.
So food means diet, and so if you can give us a little bit, what do you mean by diet? What types of food? What types of diet? Is there like a secret ingredient that I stick in and the kid will become a leader? Like, what types of food?
Well, children actually love food. We know that. So basically, training the children up, Prabhupada said that actually, well, first of all, Lord Chaitanya said that everybody must become guru. Jarita Kitarika Krishna Upadesh Amara Gyan Guru Hanatara Desh. Everybody should speak about Krishna, glorify Krishna, and become a guru. Right? So Prabhupada actually gave the example that that to be a good guru, you need to know how to cook. You need to know how to serve food to others. You can see his own example, right? In the initial stages, he would prepare the vegetables, he would prepare the ingredients, he would cook, and then he would serve it out, offer it, and then serve it out, and then clean up, right?
Yes.
So this process is very important, that our children should learn how to cook as well.
Yes.
So in food, it's not just all about eating, it's also about preparation of the food.
Yes.
So what is interesting to our children? Get them to learn leadership in the food arena. In the food arena, for example, say to them, what is it that you like to eat? Okay, now let's see you make it so that it turns out to be the best food. So you train them to become cooks in those items as well.
Yes.
Not just feed them those items, but help them prepare those items.
Yes.
So that they will learn to feed it to other people themselves.
Yes.
That they can be like spiritual masters. When they reach out to people, they can say, look, we're going to have a program, and in that program, part of the program is going to be food, and then he or she whips up some food, and the people think, wow, you made this food?
Yes.
Can you imagine how much they love you because you made the food that they ate and they found very relishable, adventurous, palatable, like Prabhupada said, elating and satisfying.
So when he said diet, the first thought I thought is, oh, how am I going to get the kids to eat their vegetables? And they don't eat it. But what's interesting is he's actually turning it around. Everything you're speaking of isn't about me giving to my kids, but actually turning the children around and giving it to me. And once now I put that responsibility on the child that, oh, you're going to be cooking this.
Yeah.
And that's something that he also shows in your life. You know, when we used to have our youth get-togethers, Kapil would always come in the kitchen.
Right.
And he has two sons, Kapil Prabhu and Chaitya Guru Prabhu, and both are very well trained in this aspect of food, in diet. They know how to cook. Of course, it goes without saying, Mother Manjuali is a world famous cook here at Kalachandji's, and she gives classes, cooking classes, and so both of her children have been trained in how to cook, how to prepare, what ingredients go. You know, moms and dads, when you're in the kitchen, the kids are in the way. And a lot of times you just go, kick them out, go play outside, leave me alone. But what I found to be so much more helpful, even if it takes a little more time, is get them in there.
Yes.
Get them watching the vegetables.
Involve them.
Get them cutting the stuff. You know, even a child as small as 5 and 6 can be trained to use a knife properly without hurting themselves.
Yes.
Both of my boys, we were fortunate enough that they were right there in the kitchen cooking. And something we learned in Gurukula as well with Mother Urmila, she had a roster of who would be cooking. So now the children have taken the responsibility of serving others. Suddenly, whether or not they can eat that broccoli becomes a non-issue.
Yes.
Because now they're serving to so many others. We have Avirhatra Prabhu saying so true. He has a business where his daughter is invested with him, working with him in the kitchen, cooking with him.
Excellent
and
example.
she's becoming a leader in her field because her father is putting her up to that.
Absolutely.
You know.
And children will start at a very, very young age. In case of my grandchildren, even before they became 1 year old, they learned how to make some items, started learning how to make some items.
Oh, yes.
Because we actually involved them in the process.
And his grandchildren are all 3 years and younger. So it's not like, 12-year-old grandchildren. We've got 3-year-olds and 2-year-olds who are involved in cooking and getting them in the kitchen and getting them involved. So
absolutely.
We have D and then
and you can imagine that, when they make the food and then all the adults eat the food and they praise the kid, wow, it was so nice, we loved it. How much that child's love and trust will increase with the parents, right?
Yes,
and
absolutely.
so a lot more will happen. And then the E stands for educate and exemplify,
Okay.
So the idea is now, basically what happens is the children should be involved in educating others. Yes. Not that they should only be taking education, but they should educate others. Because when they educate others, then what will happen is their own education will become perfected.
Yes. So how do we... That's the question. It's easy for me to get children to educate others. I'm a teacher. I have a bunch of kids here that I'm working with. The younger ones teach the older ones teach the younger ones, vice versa. But at home, how would you have your child educate someone else? How could that practically come about?
You can practically do that by, now we have such great, such great media tools.
Yes.
To do that. We have Facebook. This is an example right here. It's happening. We're using Facebook. So actually you can sit with your child and actually talk to your child and say that if you wanted to teach somebody this, what would you say to them? And let the child speak. And then you can actually encourage the child by asking questions, encouraging them by saying some words that actually add to that person's, the child's education. And in the process, these videos can be uploaded to a YouTube channel. And then there will be people who subscribe to this YouTube channel and start learning from them, because the teacher is the best student.
Yes.
And then sooner or later what will happen is the younger children or the adults that this child is teaching, the child can teach everybody, including the adults.
Yes.
Then what happens is they start referring back to the child and asking questions. And the child feels, wow, an adult asked me a question, how do you go about doing this? Can you imagine the
confidence?
Yeah.
That is a leader now. That child has become a leader. And that's the end of our leadership training here. The simple steps, A, B, C, D, E, educate and exemplify. And Nityananda Prabhu has brilliantly empowered and inspired his students in his leadership class to take on exactly what he is saying here, which is use YouTube. Now, how many of our kids are in their homes, on their beds or couches, gadget, gadget, gadget. Now, I've seen this change with my own son after taking Nityananda Prabhu's leadership class. He loves playing on the hoverboard. So he has found that I'm a leader in playing on the hoverboard.
Yes.
And he's sitting in front of his camera, setting it up, and hours will go by. He's learning how to do graphic design. He's figured out, oh, this is so easy. He's learned how to do graphic design. He's learned how to do video editing. My husband does video editing, on a much grander scale. But my 12-year-old son is sitting there for 2 hours doing video editing because he's feeling that I can teach someone else. I'm going to show them how to buy the best hoverboard. Okay, it's not what I wish it would be, which is pick up the beads and chant Hare Krishna. I'm going to teach people to chant Hare Krishna. But what Nityananda Prabhu is saying is that each of our children have something that they love doing, something that they have innate in them that they're confident about. Let's train them and teach them how to bring that out and teach others. And we're in the 21st century. They just put their phone in front of them, speak about it, load it up onto YouTube, and share and educate. YouTube has such a far reach. And share and educate others, Facebook, YouTube.
Yes.
So it's very practical. The association, who are their friends? Who are they spending time with? Books, let's have their association be the books, the stories of the heroes and the personalities that are in Srila Prabhupada's books. And I'm going to put this up for you to see. I don't know if it's backwards. I think it's okay. And C is chanting. Chanting doesn't just mean japa and kirtan, which is nice. It also means glorifying your peers, glorifying the great personalities that were in the books. And then we have diet. Now let's take it a step further. Not just that I'm going to give my child a good diet, but my kid is going to cook. And he's going to serve others. He's going to invite our family friends over and say, oh, he made the rasgullas, or he rolled the chapatis today and it didn't look so much like Africa. And the last one was educate and exemplify. And how he has put it into practice is have them use those gadgets that they're on, and something that they're good at doing, something that they're confident at doing. Bala, Gopal, all of these kids that are in your class are doing this now, where something they're good at, they're feeling that confidence that I can teach others, I can share others, and they're only 10, 11. As they get older, when they turn 15, what it means is suddenly what they're learning has purpose, immediate purpose, because they're going to turn it around when they're 15 and when they're 18 and when they're in college, and when they have some major epiphany because of a retreat they went to, they'll automatically be confident in sharing it with someone else.
Yes. And in the exemplification process, one very important part is sadhana, because sadhana strengthens a person so that that person can be a great exemplar of whatever they're doing. So naturally now, instead of forcing our children into sadhana, they will want to practice sadhana, because they'll know that the stronger the sadhana I have, the greater the results I'm going to have. The more purity I will have, the greater I will be able to exemplify what I'm doing, the better I'll be able to educate, the better I will be able to relate with others, the better my goals will be, and the better achievement of my goals will be. And so now sadhana will become part of their nature, as opposed to something that's foreign to them. And now we're telling them, please chant Hare Krishna, please do this, please do that. You won't have to do that. They'll want to do it themselves. And they'll tell us, are you doing it? If you have a problem, they'll remind us that your sadhana is weak, or you're not preaching, you're not teaching, and therefore you're having some problems.
So suddenly what happens is that as parents who want a spiritually conscious child, and you're asking them to do their morning meditation, you're asking them to chant or go to the temple, that becomes an automatic thing, because now they have a purpose for it, and they connect it immediately. I remember there was a friend of mine, Mother Irmela's granddaughter, who had said this, that she found that she connected it immediately, that chanting Hare Krishna helps me fulfill my material and my spiritual goals. And so chanting Hare Krishna and creating that space and time where I'm connecting with the real person inside of me, the super person inside of me, Krishna.
Right.
And he's going to propel me forward in educating and teaching and finding what the purpose of my life is.
Yes.
And
And
so-
please, this world is suffering. There are so many people suffering out there. They need good leaders to look up to. If we don't train our children to become the great leaders that these people can look up to, this world is only going to become more and more hellish. And so if it becomes more and more hellish, we're the ones who are going to suffer along with it.
Yes.
Why would we want that to happen?
Yes.
So let's train our children so that they can do these things and do great things in their lives.
So what's so beautiful about this, Nityananda Prabhu, again, I'm saying this for those who've joined us, we're having a leadership training seminar for parents to use with their children. And it's like, you know, we have our children, we don't want to get them, we want them to just get from point A to point B at sometimes. Let's just get good grades. And sometimes it feels like a struggle to just do bare minimum. Leadership training for my 5-year-old, for my 10-year-old, it seems to be way off in like, okay, maybe some certain category of very rich people, very affluent, who have all kinds of resources, they can do leadership training. But no, any mom or any dad or any teacher in a classroom can provide leadership training for those that are under you. And he uses things that we are already doing. Here we have association, books, chanting, diet, and then get them to educate. So you can look back if you've just joined us. The live video will be shared and it will be posted. You can look back and see the things that you are doing already every day, but actually quite a twist on these things. Diet had such a twist, not just that I'm going to feed my kid healthy foods, but I'm not going to tell you the twist. You can look back and you can watch that again. Thank you so much, Prabhu.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
I really appreciate this. We'll definitely have him here. I know he's been giving leadership classes at the school for 2 years now, and still there's so many gems that come from him. And his classes at the temple, sometimes they go for hour and a half, and no one wants to leave because there's so much important, so much valuable information that we can be learning. So we'll definitely come back on. Please share. And please comment if this has helped you. Please comment what more you would like to know. What are your struggles? Share them with our community, with our TKG Academy community, with our greater community of parents and families, so that we can all together, figure out how to overcome these obstacles. And also share with us if you have done any of these, if you have a video of your child preparing food, if you have a video of your child reading books, please share that with us on our page, or privately you can message us, and we would love to share that with the greater community.
Thank you very much. Thank you for
Thank
this
you so
opportunity.
much. Yes.
All the best.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.